Welcome back to Percona Live 2023 here in Denver. I now have David Fogle, or Dave Fogle from Civo, and you folks partner with Percona, which we thank you a lot for, and he sponsored last night's reception, which a lot of people have been thanking you for.
Yeah, absolutely.
But evidently you folks have actually been busy. You have new products coming out.
Yeah, quite a lot, actually. It seems to be most of our focus is on new stuff lately, thankfully. The biggest one recently was the DbaaS release, Database as a Service, which we use the Percona operators for to provide our MySQL and Postgres operators.
And the uptake has been pretty good and people love it?
As far as I know, yeah. I'm in research and development, so I stay far away from the numbers unless they happen to go onto a GPU to be massaged by something ML-wise.
Cool. And you also have Civo Navigate coming up. You had one earlier this year in Florida. Now you're having another one?
Yeah. We decided to be risk takers, I guess, and throw a whole conference ourselves down in Florida. And that went off just fantastically. We had Steve Wozniak there, and I got my photos with the Woz, which is a bucket list item checked right off there. And that went great. And so we're doing another one in London here, I think, next month or so. At
the brewery, which is a wonderful facility if you've never been there. It is a former brewery. Unfortunately, they took away all the beer.
The former part, yeah.
So what else is rolling out of R&D to make you folks rich?
Lately, it has been machine learning, specifically hosted machine learning in the form of Kubeflow as a service, which Kubeflow is a fairly complex piece of software, and then getting it to work the first time on a Kubernetes cluster regardless is difficult. So we spent a lot of time getting that to work, and then automating that was a whole other challenge on top of it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's been mainly the R&D team the last couple of months is ML.
Okay, so I'm running a business and I want to come in there and figure out, the computer tell me when to order stuff, what prices to order stuff at, that sort of thing?
Well, it's more of a machine learning development platform, along with production deployments. So Kubeflow is a set of tools that allow you to provision a Jupyter notebook inside of a Kubernetes cluster, either with or without a GPU. So you can run experiments or do your coding work in there. And a lot of companies have been using that for their ML development work, OpenAI included, because it's everything in one package. You get Visual Studio Code that opens up and it has the Jupyter Notebook plugin integrated with the GPU. You just start typing and you go.
Okay.
And it's all nice and containerized, and it's very complex. So the managed Kubeflow is actually a pretty big thing.
Is it mainly for what-if analysis, or are you doing some sort of finite analysis of how things work, or just kind of a grab bag of all things?
On our side of it, it's more we have a guy who's been using Kubeflow for ever and ever as a consumer of it, and he's the head of our research and development team now, and he's been kind of driving forward how to make a useful dev and deployment platform for people.
Well, a gazillion years ago in my life, I worked for a company that did anti-submarine warfare software. And it was real interesting to train the computers on, this is a whale burp, this is a dolphin flapping its tail, and this is a turbine in a Russian submarine in Murmansk getting ready to rev up. But if I'm Joe Average business user and I want to do machine learning, what do I have to do? Do I just upload my database, or?
Well, at that point, you're not looking at the offering that we have for Kubeflow. Kubeflow is pretty much primarily a development system.
Okay.
The other thing that we're working on is actually filling that gap, which is going to be inference as a service.
Okay.
So you can take a pre-trained or semi-trained model, and our hope is to be able to fine-tune these models on your data set as well. So if you had a large Whisper deployment that you needed, and you had 20 million hours of audio, we could fine tune on that so we could run it at speed for you. And that's going to be a little bit more down the line. That's got some complexities to it that are mind-boggling at times.
Very cool. And what else? What other new goodies do you have for us?
Well, like I said, our DbaaS offering is probably the best one that we've released. We have what else do we have in the pipeline? We have Platform as a Service that is going to be coming out, very Heroku-like.
Okay, so if I'm I'm Joe, average manager. I don't know what database as a service versus platform as a service. What's the differentiator there?
Well, database as a service is just the database being presented to you, and you don't have to worry about running it or setting it up. It's just magically there for you. Platform as a service is kind of the same idea, except you take your code, you give it to us, we wrap it up in a container, we build a Kubernetes cluster behind the scenes and abstract that away, drop your code inside of it, run it, and that's where it lives.
Okay.
And unlike most of the other platform as a service providers, you can click a button to detach that cluster, and then you just have a self-managed Kubernetes cluster over on the side with that platform application inside.
Very cool. And Kubernetes, the more I play with it, the more I wonder what I'm missing on it. I'm an old hand database person. I like being able to do percussive maintenance to my gear. The Kubernetes I've been playing with for a while, and it just seems terribly complex for most folks. There's so many options and widgets and all this stuff in YAML.
It can definitely be. I've kind of taken a few philosophical standpoints on how I look at Kubernetes. I see it as userland as a service, essentially.
Okay.
My Linux machines are offering me kernel facilities to start up a userland, and I put whatever I need inside of there, and it's just a Linux computer. Keeping that mentality kind of makes the rest of the complexity make sense. There's a reason the pod spec can be 500 lines long.
Yeah.
But it only needs to be 4.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea that you could give a developer a laptop or something a little bit bigger and have them have the entire environment soup to nuts.
Yeah, exactly. At Civo, we do a lot with Kubernetes. Our platform itself is actually Kubernetes clusters in the regions. So when you provision a cloud VM, that is being provisioned on a Kubernetes cluster that's just a big, giant bare metal region. That gives us the ability to generally abstract away pretty much anything into anything else if we need to.
Cool.
And it's been wonderful because once we leaned into it, we were able to take little bits and pieces that Kubernetes gives us for free and lean into them. Like you were saying with percussive maintenance, if I need to restart a VM for a customer because it is just completely crashed, deadlocked, SSH is gone, I delete the pod. And then the pod is going to go through its life cycle, event generation cycle, and it's going to go through the graceful shutdown and close the QEMU connection, shut the VM down, and the container goes away, and then it'll start up a brand new container and just boot the disk image again.
Now, for a database guy like me, having databases in an ephemeral container is scary. Database as a service seems one option. Persistent storage. What are the best options for persistent storage for MySQL and Postgres out there?
At this point, my opinion is heavily swayed towards hyper-converged everything. I believe the disks and the processors and the memory should all be on the same motherboard.
Okay.
So Maya from MayaStore from Data is probably the best offering that I could recommend. It's NVMe over fiber over Ethernet. So you can even mount a NVMe volume from a different machine and run a container or a VM on that workload. You get replication out of the box. You get synchronization. It works wonderfully. So you can take a lot of the reliability parts away from even the database and say that the data layer is going to be what's protecting you. And that's what we use in production is Data.
Okay. And so if I'm an old lap stack fan and I've been running my business on that for the past 20 years and I want to bring it to Civo, I just show up and your experts help me move it into the cloud and Kubernetes.
Sure we could find someone who could help you with the Docker file for that. Yeah. But yeah, most traditional infrastructure in my experience can usually be replaced pretty easily with the Kubernetes native alternatives. It just takes a little bit of forethought and planning, and then you drop it in place and it builds itself.
Very cool. Well, anything else we should mention while you're here?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
thank you for being here.
Most definitely.
And once again, Civo Navigate in London in the fall. And hopefully I'll see you there.
All right. Have a good day.
Great. Thank you.